Hello and welcome to the Crochet Business School podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Thomas, and I'm going to help you to make your crochet dreams a reality stitch by stitch and show you how you can create a successful and profitable business using your crochet, keeping a flexible lifestyle so you don't have to sacrifice too much time with your family. Let's talk about if you're a good enough crocheter to actually write your own crochet patterns. And I think this is something that a lot of people struggle with. How do you know that you're good enough to be able to write and publish crochet patterns and kind of deserve that title designer? What is going to be the thing that says this is it? And there isn't anything. To be honest, I've learned more about about crochet since I started writing my own patterns than I did beforehand. I'm a far better crocheter now. I've learned so much more about the technical side of crochet and how the stitches and shaping works. I'm a better crocheter because I started writing crochet patterns. You are by no means an expert just because you write a pattern. Writing a pattern just means that you know enough right now to write the pattern that you've just designed. That's it. That's all it's saying. There is no minimum skill level. There's no, set points. There's no number of techniques you should know. You don't have to learn, all the little bits and pieces. All you need is enough skill of crochet to write the pattern that you have in mind. That is it. So if you're writing a very simple, one stitch design, it could just be a granny blanket. All you've got to be is a good enough crocheter to know how a granny blanket works. You don't need to know anything else. You only need to know enough to write up that particular design. That's it. As you go and you start to write more patterns and get more designs in mind, you might get more ambitious. And you'll go and learn the techniques that you need to make the designs in your head come to life. But you've still got to learn. And just because you're a pattern designer, it doesn't mean that you stop learning. I'm learning all the time. I'm always going and finding new stitches, new techniques, and I find these by going on the internet. I search for them, and I'm learning from other crocheters. Now, I'm not copying anyone. Learning from someone else and then incorporating that knowledge into your designs is not copying because I'm writing it in my own way. I'm, using my own pictures, I'm using my own videos, I'm describing it my way. And I'm not just generally using that technique on its own, I'm incorporating it into my designs. You can still learn while being a designer. No one ever stops learning. We never stop being curious, we never stop being more ambitious and wanting to create something different, maybe better, maybe more complicated than we did before. But even if you just stick to, small and simple, there's still techniques you might want to learn. Maybe you want to learn how to make jewellery out of your crochet. You've got to learn that somewhere. And it's perfectly fine to go ahead and do that and incorporate that knowledge into your designs. Because knowledge is not copyrighted. You're not copying someone just because you've learned something they've shown. That's not how it works. It's if you took their pictures, if you took their videos and used them, then you've got an issue there. But as long as you are using your own words, your own voice, your own pictures, your own videos, whatever it is you're using, as long as it's coming from you and the way you describe it, then you're all good. There is nothing wrong with incorporating that knowledge into your designs. I mean, where do you think everybody else learnt? Everybody has to learn from somebody else. This knowledge gets passed down and it gets incorporated into everything else that you do. And so you just need to be a good enough crocheter to write the design you have in mind right now, and the rest you will learn as you go along. I've learned so much since I started writing my patterns. I've learned things that means I'm a better pattern writer in just the way I take my photos, in the way I describe the instructions, the way I make videos. I mean, my first videos were terrible, but I've learned from seeing how other designers make their videos. I've learned different techniques from other crocheters, which have been incorporated into my designs. I've learned different stitches, which also come from other crocheters, which get incorporated into my designs. But I always use my own voice, my own way of speaking, my own pictures. And you shouldn't be afraid to get started just because you don't feel like an expert. I mean, who is? I mean, there's so many stitches and so many techniques when it comes to crochet that you could be learning until the end of time and not learn it all. You just need to know enough. Enough to write that design that you have in mind. You have an image in your head, write it down. Pattern writing and knowing how to crochet are two different things. Just because you know how to crochet, it doesn't mean that you can write a pattern. And just because you can write a pattern doesn't mean that you know everything about crochet. They are two different skills. Becoming a pattern writer does not mean you stop learning. It does not mean that you know everything. And knowing how to write those instructions down and make them clear and explainable to your customer is not the same thing as learning how to crochet. I was talking to a lovely lady recently who wanted to write her own patterns. She had a very specific thing in mind and was asking me how she could write that pattern. But actually what she was asking me was, how do I crochet this? And pattern writing comes in after the crocheting finishes. So you will write notes as you go, but actually writing the pattern comes after the crochet. It's about how you write the instructions down. It's how you show your customers how to do the steps that you've shown, whether it be photos or videos. It's about the technical side, actually getting things either on paper or on video and explaining how it's done. It's almost like teaching. How do you teach someone else to make this design that you come up with? But that comes after the crochet. So you've got to be a good crocheter to be a pattern writer, but you've also got to be good at explaining how that pattern works. But you only need to be a good enough crocheter to create the design that you've got in your head right now. I've got ideas in my head that I'm still figuring out how to actually make. I've got to go and figure out the technique. I've got to figure out how it works. It might be a year or two before I get to grips with it, but I can make it happen. And I'm going to learn from other crocheters. I'm not going to copy them. I'm not going to copy their designs. I'm going to take the bits that I need and use them to make the design in my head come to life. And if I get it right, you will never know that knowledge came from someone else. You'll never be able to say, you got it from that person there. The idea is that you then take it and use your own voice. We should never be afraid of learning. Never be afraid people are going to think I'm copied because this is something I've never done before and they're going to know I learnt it from someone else. How else do you learn? You learn from someone else, either because you've sat in one of their classes, because you've watched a video, because you've read a book. Knowledge gets passed down. That is how the human race works. Knowledge gets passed down from generation to generation, and it gets used maybe in a different way each time. But no one is, stopping you from using that knowledge to create something from it. It just has to be in your own voice. That is as simple as it gets. If you can crochet it, you can write the pattern for it. As long as you have made it, you can explain it. That's how writing patterns works. You make something and then explain how to do it to somebody else. And that's the entire process. There is no special school, there is no special qualification. You don't need a training course or certification to become a crochet pattern writer. You just need to be able to explain how to create the crochet pattern that you've just made. That is pattern writing. It is the explanation, and so someone else can follow it to make what you already made. You've got to be a skilled crocheter or skilled enough just to make the design, and then a good enough pattern writer to explain how to make that design. So they are two very different skills. You just got to be good enough. You don't have to know everything. You don't need to be the world's expert in all knowledge crochet, because I'm certainly not. I'm learning all the time. You've just got to be good enough. And will you be comfortable writing your first crochet pattern? Absolutely not. It's scary as hell putting out that first design to be judged by the world. It is scary. It is a very vulnerable feeling. You're putting your own desires, thoughts, you're putting yourself out there. It is a piece of you. And it is a scary thing, so it's not going to be a comfortable thing that you do. But it will be something that you will not regret. Because I've never had anyone who's come to me and said, by the way, there's a mistake in this design. They've never been nasty about it. They never demanded refunds. My early patterns, I used to get this all the time, and people spotting mistakes, but they were always really sweet. They were always really nice and kind, and never have I been asked for a refund because there was a mistake in the pattern. In fact, they were all just really happy that they could help me make a better pattern. And it's really nothing to worry about. Becoming a pattern writer and, making that leap, it is scary, but it's very satisfying. It's worth it, unbelievably well worth it for the income that it brings you, and it brings you freedom to crochet what you want when you want. You have far more freedom in what you crochet and when by selling crochet patterns than you do by selling what you make. And of course, if you want to, you can do both. So if you want to know how to write a crochet pattern, how to become that explainer and teach how to create the design that you've made, then take a look at Crochet Pattern School. It's the part of Crochet Business School where I show you all about how to write crochet patterns. I've got free resources and budget-friendly options and how to learn more about pattern writing. And of course, I've got my signature Crochet Pattern Writing for Beginners course where we take you all through how to turn your notes into a design, how to go through the testing process, how to take the photos, and how to get your pattern ready for publishing. So if you go to crochetbusinessschool.com, Crochet Pattern School is on the front page. Explore there and come and join our Facebook group. We have a group specifically for crochet pattern writing, and you can ask all the questions you need there. And I'm in there every week giving tips and advice as well. So thank you for listening, and I shall see you next time for the next episode. Bye for now. Thank you.